Okay, good afternoon. Today we're going to be tying a pheasant tail nymph. The hook I have in the vise is a Mustad 3906B size 12. It's a wet nymph hook. And the weight I just added was 0.015 lead wire. I did 7 turns. With the extra little tail, made 8 turns. And the thread I'm using is 8/0 unithread, and I think it's called tobacco brown, I'm pretty sure. When you start your thread on, start in front of the lead, then wrap over top of the lead, and give it a few wraps behind, securing the lead in about the middle of the shank of the hook. And now I'm tying in a piece of small copper wire that I'll use to counter wrap the pheasant tail. And now I'm selecting 7 or 8 pheasant tail fibers that I'm going to use for the tail and the body. Make sure you keep all the tips aligned as you cut away the barb reels off of the stem of the feather. And now lay the pheasant on top of the shank of the hook. You don't want your tail to be too long, just maybe half the length of the shank of the hook. Wrap over it 3 or 4 times, securing it. And once you're satisfied the tail is secure to the shank of the hook, wrap the thread up to in front of the lead. And now grab the remainder of the pheasant tail and give it a few twists and wrap it forward up to where you parked the thread at. Make sure your first wrap covers the base of the tail. I like to make sure I continue to twist the fibers as I wrap forward. And once you wrapped the pheasant fibers up to in front of the lead, go ahead and tie it off. And now you could take your small copper wire and counter wrap up over the pheasant body 3 or 4 turns to in front of the lead and tie it off. A good way to secure the copper wire is to wrap the thread around the wire and reverse the direction of your thread wrap, and then repeat that to normalize your thread wrap. And once you have the copper wire secured, either cut away or helicopter the wire until it breaks. And now grab your pheasant feather again. This time from the bottom of the feather, grab about a dozen barbrels, and you're going to use this for the wing case and the legs. And you're going to tie this in a little different than what you've seen probably on other videos. You're going to have the legs pointing forward over top of the eye of the hook as you tie it in. So lay the pheasant tail barbrels on top of the shank of the hook with the tips facing over top of the eye of the hook. I find this way a little easier to control the length of my legs. In grasping the pheasant tail, wrap forward and then wrap back, then forward again, securing the fibers to the shank of the hook. And now you're going to add a peacock herl thorax. You're going to grab a couple of stems, lay them next to the shank of the hook and wrap them in. And now you want to spin the herl forward. What I like to do is give the herl a couple of twists in my fingers. That way the herl stays together as you wrap it. And once you get to the front, tie it off and cut it away. And now you want to separate your legs into two different halves. I'm trying to move the vise sideways so you can see a little better what I'm trying to do here. But as I separate the legs into two equal halves, I want to stroke them back and fold them back over top of themselves. And now that I have all the tips captured and swept back, I want to give it a few thread wraps up against the base of the tips so they stay swept back. And now I want to pull the remainder of the pheasant tail fibers up over and through the tips and securing it to right behind the eye of the hook. And once you have it secured, cut away your excess and give it a few more thread wraps to continue to build up the head. Once you're satisfied with the size of the head, take your whip finish tool, give it a few whips, and cut away your thread. I basically wanted to make this video to show you how I tie in the legs, which may be a little different than what you've seen other tiers do. Something I've seen a long time ago. Somebody did it, obviously. I didn't make it up. And it worked well for me. So if you're having difficulties gauging the length of your legs by tying the fibers in from the rear and bending them up and over, try it this way. Maybe you might have a little better luck, because it's a little easier to gauge in my opinion. And now you could take head cement, in this case Sally Hansen's, and apply it to the wing case and apply it to the thread. You want to make sure the thread is all coated, that way it doesn't come apart on you after your first fish. And there you have it. A pheasant tail may be tied a little differently than you've seen in the past, but in the end, it comes out the same. I think it's a little easier this way. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. And stay safe out there. Take it fishing. And I hope you do well. I'll see you next time with the next bug.